Hello all, my name is Jane Lowe and I'm Managing Director at IR Department. Today I'm with Dr. John Friend, who is Kazia's CEO, Managing Director and Interim Chairman. Hello, John.
Hi, Jane. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So for many years now, Kazia has been dual listed on both the ASX and NASDAQ exchanges. It recently announced plans to retain its NASDAQ listing whilst delisting from the ASX. So John, can we start by having you talk more about what Kazia has announced and also the rationale for the delisting?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jane. So you're right. Kazia Therapeutics has requested and received formal approval from the ASX to be removed from the official list pursuant to ASX listing 17.11. You asked about rationale. This is something the board has considered very carefully and in fact has been discussing for some time. Ultimately, we determined that the cost, administrative burden, and commercial disadvantages of remaining listed on both ASX and NASDAQ outweigh the benefits of being solely listed on NASDAQ. The board considers the delisting in the best interest of the company and shareholders for a number of reasons.
And you've just released an announcement in the last week or so, which discusses the rationale in more detail. Can you talk through the key points?
Happy to. Yes, that's right. And that's an important point. All the details we're discussing today is available on the ASX under our Kazia Therapeutics company page, and it's also on our website. I'll talk to the key points which were set out in the ASX announcements and address the rationale in some further detail. Firstly, costs. The continued listing of Kazia on ASX requires us to incur considerable internal costs, external consultant costs such as legal, financial, and auditors, and various other administrative costs, including listing fees. As discussed last year, we've implemented several cost reduction activities while maintaining the high quality standards you've come to expect from our corporate undertakings, as well as in our clinical trial execution. With this decision, we're seeking to further minimize our expenditure and would cease incurring such additional costs when we're removed from the official list. Considering the financial, administrative, and compliance obligations and costs, including the higher level of regulatory compliance costs associated with the dual listing, noting that there are some significant differences between NASDAQ listing rules and ASX listing rules, managing an ASX listing and a NASDAQ listing is not in the best interest of the company's security holders. Secondly, access to a larger equity market and biotechnology focus. NASDAQ is the largest equity and biotechnology market in the world. The board believes that delisting from the ASX whilst retaining the NASDAQ listing will enable Kazia to solely focus its attention and enhance the awareness of our ongoing clinical programs and future growth. A third perspective is that with the exception of 2 directors, all the company's non-executive board members, our chief financial officer, and myself are now based outside of Australia. In addition, the overwhelming majority of our day-to-day work, our clinical trials, and our current collaborators are also based in the US.
Thanks, John. Okay, and so the documentation also sets out some options for holders of ASX-listed KZA or, Kazia's ASX securities. Can you briefly summarise what they are?
Sure. So as a holder of shares, you have the following options in respect to the delisting, which you should carefully consider before deciding what to do. And all these can be found on our website as well. So first, option 1, sell your shares on ASX on or before the suspension date, which is currently set at November 13th, 2023. Option 2, convert your shares to ADSs or American Depository Shares. Option 3 is essentially take no action by the suspension date, in which case you will retain your shares, but they will no longer be quoted or able to be traded on ASX or NASDAQ, and your shareholding will become a certificated holding. If you take no action, a share certificate will be issued for your shares and sent to you by post within 10 days of the delisting date. This must be kept in a safe place as it's proof of ownership of your shares in the company. In order to read more about your options, please review the letter to shareholders available via our website and also via the ASX. The letter refers to an ADS conversion form that shareholders can use to convert their shares to NASDAQ shares, and also includes a timetable for the delisting.
Thanks, John. So you mentioned earlier that more information on the delisting process exists on the Kazia company page on the ASX website. Also worth mentioning for shareholders that you can access a special page on the Kazia website at kaziatherapeutics.com to get to the resources relating to the delisting, and where we've also provided more information for shareholders. So you can access that via the homepage and also via the Investor Centre menu.
That's right. We've tried to make it as simple as possible, providing both this sort of contact information and contact details both on our website, but it can also be found on the ASX website as well.
Great. Okay, so thanks, John. And finally, and equally importantly, you've just announced that both paxalicib and EVT-801, which Kazia's drug candidates, will be showcased in upcoming conference presentations. Can you give us a bit of a clinical update and talk to the significance of those?
Absolutely. So happy to provide an update to the significant progress we've made, as well as some important clinical catalysts coming up. So first and foremost, the clinical data from our ongoing EVT-801 was presented just recently at ESMO 2023 in Madrid, Spain. ESMO is the European Society of Medical Oncology, and its annual meeting is actually quite a high-profile meeting. Our poster at the event highlighted some very interesting findings in 6 patients with high-grade serous ovarian cancer. The key findings were that the higher the tumor-expressed VEGFR3, the more hypoxia, or low blood oxygen, and the more resistance to immune checkpoint inhibitors was present. Immune checkpoints are the regulators of our immune system. In addition, the higher the tumors express VEGFR3, the less CD8-positive T cells are present in the tumor and in the tumor microenvironment. CD8-positive T cells are a critical component of the immune system and play an important role in the defense against cancers and against the tumor itself. Considering EVT-801's mechanism of action as a VEGFR3 inhibitor and the lack of efficacy to date of immune checkpoint inhibitors in ovarian cancer, we are highly encouraged with this data that suggests that ovarian cancer patients with this tumor expression may benefit from EVT-801 treatment. In spite of recent advancements in treatments with ovarian cancer, there's still a very high rate of recurrence and limited treatment options when this occurs. So this exciting data bodes very well for our ongoing and future studies. There's a lot going on with our paxalicib program as well, as you can imagine. As discussed previously, the paxalicib pipeline can be divided into essentially 3 pillars: adult brain cancer, pediatric brain cancer, and patients with brain metastases. I'd like to highlight 2 studies within the adult brain cancer trials or pillars. We're anxiously awaiting the results of GBM-AGIL, the phase 3 study with paxalicib in glioblastoma, and that we're told by our collaborator that we're still on target to read out by the end of this year, 2023. The other study I'd like to highlight is one I'm very excited about is the primary CNS lymphoma phase 2 clinical trial out of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, Massachusetts. It's enrolled a number of relapsed and refractory patients with this devastating disease. Although the data has not yet been submitted to any upcoming conferences, we will be providing an update to this trial very shortly. As you saw, we announced that the clinical efficacy data from the ongoing pediatric diffuse midline glioma trial, the PNOC-022, was accepted as an oral late-breaking presentation at the Society of Neuro-Oncology annual meeting in Vancouver, Canada in mid-November. Late-breaking status is quite an honor, and it's usually an indicator of the impact value of the data. So we're highly encouraged by this and super excited about this data coming out. Last but not least, additional clinical data will be presented at the SNO 2023 meeting by the investigators of the ongoing phase 1 study with paxalicib in combination with radiation therapy in PI3K mutation brain metastases. This presentation is going to focus on the clinical responses already observed and reported last year, and the potential correlations or exciting potential correlations to biomarkers such as circulating tumor DNA. That study is still on target for completion in the first quarter of 2024.
Amazing. Well, thanks, John. Clearly, there's a lot going on with Kazia, including a very significant amount of data coming through to the end of the year. So we shall keep an eye on that. And with that, I'll thank you for your time today.
Great. Thanks, Jane. It's been a pleasure. And we remain extremely excited about sharing a number of milestones for both paxilosib and EVT-801 over the next few months. Thanks again.
Excellent. Thank you, John.